Thank God and thank you all. And those are the words from a Ukrainian warrior with a very difficult situation due to the death of many of his comrades in the past couple days.
Thank you, Joseph, for making us cry this morning. That was very moving. Joe Lindsley is quickly becoming an American treasure in broadcasting.
Wendy Snyder in for Bob Sirott this morning. We go live to Ukraine, and Joseph Lindsley joins us now. Good morning, or good afternoon, I should say, Joseph.
Wendy, good afternoon from Kyiv. Beautiful, pretty hot day here today, and it was a hot night throughout much of Ukraine. We had indications at about 10 p.m. last night throughout the country that Russian bombers had taken off in their bases deep within Russia. And it's never nice to get text message like this, but said that the message said that by 2 o'clock, between 2 o'clock and 2:30 in the morning, the Russian bombers were likely to be over the Caspian Sea, which is the place from which they often launched massive missile attacks on Ukraine. So everyone got that message at about 10 o'clock. You know, you choose what you do with the next few hours. And I'm here with some Americans. We're at the same hotel here in Kyiv, and sure enough, the alarm went off a little bit after 3 o'clock in the morning. And, you try to have normal conversations. Everyone's awake, kind of keeping one eye to the sky, another eye to your phone to see which way, to try to get a sense of which way the missiles might be flying as Ukrainians share that crucial information. And then try to have normal conversations while you wait. Several hours of waiting. And it seemed that there were lots of missiles. Well, we knew there were lots of missiles flying around. It's been difficult lately because Russians have been launching these simulated attacks. So it's not a real missile sometimes. It's meant to confuse people. And, when you know that's a possibility, you think, oh, maybe I'll just, go to sleep and not worry about it. But I think there was a heightened sense of vigilance through the night. And here in Kyiv, it was peaceful in the city. But the Russians pounded Lviv. Among other places. But, Lviv is in the far west. It was hit throughout the winter, almost weekly by the Russians on infrastructure. But last night was 7 missiles. It seems we can report that 7 missiles hit the city of Lviv. So quite serious and intense. We're still waiting to figure out what exactly happened. When Ukrainians get hit like that, they have to protect the information. You can't let the Russians know exactly what was hit. But there are reports, many people wounded in Lviv. And, I had so many reports. I mean, that's my home base. And from people who live there, who were, went to shelter. And it was a terrifying night in the city of Lviv. Throughout those early hours from about 3:30 in the morning until just after 5, Russia had launched 28 cruise missiles of various types throughout Ukraine. And of those, 16 were destroyed. So about half of those missiles did hit, it seemed, their intended targets.
And Russian missiles, of course, you mentioned that. And we're getting reports here, CNN reporting that Ukraine is using thermal cameras with the Russian landmines in their counteroffensive. What do you know about that?
Well, because as I explained to you all a few weeks ago, I visited a land mining, demining academy, Polygon, as they call it here in Ukraine, and really saw just how difficult it is to detect mines. You have traditional mines, which you can detect with metal detectors, but then the Russians also have these very homemade mines made with plastic bottles. They could be in an old protein powder can, for example, or there was the case of the cigarette behind an icon, and you pick it up in someone's house and you explode. When the Russians, when they leave behind places that, as Ukrainians liberate very slowly, as they liberate villages in this counteroffensive, the Russians booby trap the houses. And so everything, almost anything could be mined. And that really is one of the biggest that perhaps is the biggest challenge of the slog of the counteroffensive, is that Russians had time to mine those beautiful fertile fields of Zaporizhia, of Kherson. And so you can use thermal detection, you can use metal detectors, but a lot of it, as I experienced when I was doing the training myself, is very painstaking, poking into the ground with a metal stick, knowing that if you're just slightly off, you could very well explode. The people who work they're called sappers, the people who do the demining, including many brave volunteers from around the world. I mean, they're truly heroic. But even then, even with very expert demining, I don't know if you can hear in the background, but the air raid alarm is currently sounding here in Kyiv, and so I'll have to keep an eye on what kind of information we have. But this some of these mines are so hard to detect because they're so simple. They could be there for hundreds of years, and so any territory that falls into Russian hands really becomes a wasteland. And in some way, and I currently have no reports on this alarm, but just a reminder, and I think when we look at this attack on Lviv and all these attacks, this is hell. And I had some American friends visiting. They'd been here before the war, and they said it felt like such a strange dream to be in the city of Kyiv, which they love so well. And Kyiv is still a beautiful, vibrant place, but to know that to think about, you have to look to the sky to see if there's missiles coming to kill you. It's really a hard thing to believe. And I was last night with these friends. We were walking through a park in Kyiv, and one of our volunteers from France was saying how safe and clean these parks are compared to back home in Paris. And two of the volunteers, they had these like go-karts for kids. You can pay a few bucks and ride around the go-kart. And two of our volunteers, grown men, said, let's take a ride in the go-karts. And the girl in charge of the carts was laughing. And it was sort of this nice, innocent moment. We all stood around, and everyone in the park was watching as my two friends, one of them pretty reckless go-kart driver, was driving around the brick paths of the park. And it was this moment of innocence, knowing that person in particular was going to the east to a very dangerous place pretty soon. And this nice moment of innocence, despite the threats we face, being able to find a moment to laugh. And I looked beyond me there at the park, and there were these sort of high seats, almost like lounges, and you have to kind of climb up to sit on it. And each one had a person on it, all young people, men and women, and everyone was either reading, two people were reading their phones, another person, several people were reading actual books, and just sitting there in the park reading a book, hours before the nation would go through another night of terror, but people trying to live well. And I want to share, if I can quickly, that my friend Gorenite, he's a great Ukrainian warrior, and he's documented a lot of what's happened on social media. And he's usually very upbeat and positive. In fact, if you go to UkrainianFreedomNews.com, he and his friends appear at the end of every one of our videos talking about their work. And he posted a picture today where he was clearly, he'd been crying. And he said, he said, romance at war is only in movies. In life, war is a black hole that absorbs and absorbs everything around you. It's irreversible to life and time. He said, everyone in our group, meaning his group of soldiers, knew that something similar could happen. He's talking about, knowing that we could be met with horrible deaths of our comrades. And so far, they've been pretty fortunate. He said, everyone knew that something similar could happen. Well, it has happened. Morally, we are prepared for something similar, but when it happens, it is harder. Some days, you just have to be silent because there's nothing to say. The bodies of some parts of our group still remain on the battlefield. We cannot yet pick them up. And this is a tearjerker. So far, only one was picked up. He has a son at home. This stupid state has become routine. Morning time will have to be later. Now we have to pack up and carry on. We have resumed, and we are fulfilling the purpose of what it means to be a man without emotional attachment. Thank you for your prayers and support, because this cursed calamity really surrounds us every single day. I feel that there must be a certain shield to protect us. Thank God and thank you all. And those are the words from a Ukrainian warrior with a very difficult situation due to the death of many of his comrades in the past couple days.
Oh, that's moving. Joseph, wishing you peace, and I hope the siren goes off. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Good luck.
Thank you, Wendy. Until tomorrow.
Thank you for introducing Ukraine on your social media pages. That's very important, that much more people can get more information about the situation here and how everybody can help Ukraine to stay stronger and to save all the world.
Що він сказав?
Well, which side are you on?
На чиїй ти стороні?
Come on now. Oh, which side are you on?
На чиїй ти стороні?